All right, welcome everybody. We are the Great Debaters.
The three
My
great
name is
debaters.
Eithor Lee, and
Yes,
I'm
sir.
here with Shazahh. How you
What
doing,
up?
Shazahh? I'm here with the great Chris. How you doing, Chris?
How we
And
doing?
today we're gonna debate about what are we gonna debate about, Shazahh? What are we debating today?
We are going to talk about our 10 favorite movies, and we're going to express why there are 10 favorite movies. Now, some of us are going to have some bias. I mean,
100%.
I think Thor's favorite so Lee is also Thor. I think his favorite movies are really biased because he said they're more recent. And
We'll see.
Chris has bad taste in movies, so we'll see how that goes.
I can agree a little bit, yeah. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what y'all is, but just to let y'all know, just to let the audience and everybody know, we are movie critics, so we haven't seen every single freaking movie in the entire world. But we have seen a lot, and we have a good idea on what movies we think are the best, what movies we consider are like movies that are must watch for people to watch, people who that think that movies have a great meaning and everything like that. And so because of that, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. I'm strongly thinking that like we are not gonna have any single same movie on our list at all.
I don't think so either.
Maybe one or two. Maybe one or two.
I think we got at least one. I think we got at least
I don't
one.
think I think our lists are gonna be very different because we are very different people. But I got good reason why all 10 of these movies are on here.
And we're doing these in order?
Yeah, well, we're gonna go down the list. So we're gonna go down. I'm gonna give my number 10, and then Shazahh will give his number 10, and then Chris will give us his number 10, and then we'll just go down like that, and then I do 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, 8, and then we just talk, and then I'm just gonna be like, why is this on your list? Because I already know I'm gonna say that because you guys.
Let me comment real quick. Chris, you got a Rehoboth Beach, Delaware shirt. What's up, you fucking Biden voter? You know that's like a millionaire place. I did a little bit of research on it. The cheapest house in Rehoboth Beach is like $1.5 million. They're all mansions.
Oh, really?
How'd you get that?
Well, I don't know. It's a spring break vacation kind of thing. There's a lot of kids that go party down there. But
really?
Yeah, that is a super affluent part of town.
I've always wondered what Delaware is like.
I have two very close people in my life that have been there on vacation, gone about a week to the beach, and I have heard very terrible things. Like imagine the worst kind of spring break weekend with all the kids and everything, and all the bars serving some underage alcohol. Obviously, we don't suggest or condone that, but
I mean, if it's affluent, it's probably really white.
Oh, it's Caucasian from the Caucasus of Nordic. All right.
When I was in Virginia, someone brought up how the south part of Virginia Beach is really black and the north part of Virginia Beach is really white. So I can only assume the further up north you go, that coastline, it just keeps going the same direction. But just to bring up a movie, Wayne's World, there's a scene in Wayne's World where they're going through the states, kind of like with a green screen in the background. And then they get to Delaware and they're like, Delaware. And that's it. They just don't know what to say about the state. So now people know about Delaware. So all right, I'm sorry for the interruption.
Let's go ahead and get started. Let's not stall. I think the audience want to see what the lists are, and let's go and start. And I'll go ahead and start. Well, first of all, anybody got any honorable mentions that they want to mention that isn't on the top 10 at all?
I think a round of honorable mentions. You start us off on number 10, but I'll start us off on these honorable mentions. Okay. Now this movie didn't make my list, okay? But it's one of those movies that anybody that went to school probably saw it once upon a time, right? Whether you saw it in first grade or 10th grade in high school or English class or art class or history class, it was probably in there in some kind of matter or form, and that is To Kill a Mockingbird. I think that movie,
that's a good one.
The message it sent and the ripple effects it had on American society in general, I think are pretty profound. It's a staple in most, like I said, education systems, and it's it kind of had the first moment in history for multiple things in cinema, and it just was a very even now you can still go back and the acting in it from all the technical stuff is taken care of, so it's pretty quality. Not in the top 10, but as I said, honorable mention for sure.
Yeah, I kind of wish that movie.
Seen it. I've read the book. The book's banned now, I think.
Yeah, Jesus. But I think I kind of wish that movie has a reboot because I think it's so relevant right now.
It would be, yeah.
It's so relevant. I think
reboot
it really needs a reboot because it's so old. But like
Scout would be
story,
transgender.
the story is like very, very good. It's very good. It has a lot of meaning in it.
That new production company should make it with who's the guy from the Patriot movie? Mel Gibson and
Mel Gibson.
Yeah, and the other guy, they started that anti-woke movie production company. That would be a great movie for them to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me go and get started. All right, so on my number 10, I put a movie that is like a blockbuster that created a huge franchise. And I was thinking of a movie
Iron
like
Man.
that to put my number 10 on. And I was thinking of like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, one of those other like Blade Runner or whatever. But honestly, the only movie that can really fit that spot for me is Star Wars. And so my number 10 is actually going to be Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, because I believe so.
That's when he says, "Luke, I am your father." That's that one.
That's the one. That's Luke, I'm your father. I believe this movie has to be on top 10 because unlike Star Wars, unlike like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or any of these other blockbuster movie franchises, a lot of them have books already. And so a lot of the people that went and watched these movies are already fans of the book, including like all the superhero movies. Like people already are fans and they already understand like the character, the plot, and all this stuff already. Star Wars came straight from movies. Like it had to create its ground on movies. And so like you had to go and watch it and and really get involved in the Lucas had to create the whole story from ground up from a movie. He didn't have a source he had to write. And I think that's just so incredible that he's able to create a mega franchise with Star Wars. And so I was like skeptical. I didn't know if I wanted to put The Empire Strikes Back or I wanted to put the first one, A New Hope, because the first one is the first one. It's the one that introduces it. But I decided to go with Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, I decided to go with Empire Strikes Back because I believe Empire Strikes Back was the one that really made Star Wars into a franchise. If Empire Strikes Back wasn't good, which it is, it's honestly the best one. If it wasn't good, I don't think Star Wars would it be such a big, like mega blockbuster product. It would not be a big mega blockbuster product if Empire Strikes Back wasn't good. Empire Strikes Back was amazing.
Yeah.
That's why
Rest
such a big
in peace, blockbuster. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. But
But rest in peace, Blockbuster. But Anakin, like when they introed Anakin, like he was kind of twinky, you know. And then once he like turned over to the dark side, everyone was really excited to see what that was. And then intro Darth Vader and his son. Yeah, I definitely think that really set the tone for Star Wars. Compared to like other science fiction movies that were out there, nothing had like an interesting plot and like such a villainous character. You know, it was
such an iconic like villain character too. And Darth
Vader,
like, he's honestly the most iconic like just super villain in movies. So so because of all that, I put Star Wars at my number 10, and the second movie, The Empire Strikes Back, because of just the impact it has on like creating a mega franchise.
Okay.
But that's my number 10. What is your number 10, Shazahh?
So my number 10 is a movie called Overboard. It came out in 1980, right? So when I was a kid, I was really poor,
okay. Give me
and
a
I
second.
only had
Give me a second.
What?
I do want to warn everybody, we are gonna spoil these movies. Like we're gonna talk about the story and everything.
Yeah,
just
that's
to
true.
give you guys a heads up. And so if you guys had not seen any of the movies we talk about, just just heads up, we are gonna talk about the movie. All right.
Yeah. So 10 out of 10, recommend the movie Overboard. It's with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. So I only grew up with a VHS player. I didn't have a DVD player, nothing like that, till I got a PlayStation 2 when I was like 14. And so I would watch this movie over and over again. The plot basically is this guy, he has 3 kids, his wife died, and he goes to work on this rich lady's boat making cabinets. And the lady's a bitch. She's super rich, and she just treats him like he's garbage and dirt. And then she falls off her boat later that night, and the dude she's married to doesn't report her missing. So she washes up ashore, and this guy sees her on the news, and he goes to claim her from the hospital. And so he basically, because she didn't pay him for his work, he basically like makes her his wife and lies and says that she's his wife. And
she has amnesia.
She has amnesia, yes. And so he gets her to pay him back by like doing laundry, cooking for them, but the story progresses and they like genuinely fall in love. And there's this there's this beautiful story that he tells her about like Arturo, and anyways, there's beautiful story he tells her, and eventually throughout the story, she gets her memories back, and she realizes that they're not married, but like now she's in love with him, and technically he had been like raping her and he kidnapped her. So like when you look at it that way, it's fucked up. But
Jesus.
it's a very beautiful movie about how like people from different areas are kind of just molded to their perspective, but they can change. And love is kind of this universal language that can like bridge that disconnection between people. And she basically adopts his kids, and they live happily ever after at the end. And Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell fell in love on the set of that movie, and they've been married for 40 years now.
I've seen a movie super similar to that.
They remade it. It's not as good.
Oh, okay. I've seen an Indian movie that has literally the same plot line where the girl fell off and like she fell off onto shore, and she has amnesia, and a person came and then like pretty much lied, like, hey, you're my wife and all this stuff. But that's interesting.
It's probably the remake of Overboard. The 1980s version is really beautifully shot. It's really, if you just want a feel good movie that you can sit down and watch. Me and my fiance actually, like on our first date, we watched that movie, and she doesn't have an attention span for movies, and she ended up sitting through the whole thing, and it's one of my favorite memories. I really love that movie. Watched it a ton as my kid, so that's my number 10.
Okay. I haven't seen that movie, but I would definitely check that out now.
If you like mushy gushy, like I like love stories, so that was a good one.
I'm not a big love story guy, just to be honest.
Well, you don't believe in love then, you piece of shit.
Maybe not. Maybe I just haven't found it yet.
Oh, my honorable mention is this movie called Upside Down, since I'm on love story shit. It's a very beautiful movie about parallel universes. A dude's in love with a lady in a different parallel universe, and so he basically risks his life to go see her. Upside Down, 10 out of 10 recommend. All right, Chris, what's yours?
So I don't know if anybody, you guys might not have seen this movie. It's an older movie made in 1974. It's actually called Blazing Saddles.
I have seen that racist ass movie. That shit's so funny. Mel Brooks, brother.
Interesting. It is interesting that you say that, because it was one of the first movies of the era to star, co-star and co-lead African American and a white guy together. One of the first movies ever to, actually. Yeah,
it's a historical.
It was groundbreaking. And it also incorporated a lot of. It was supposed to star. Actually, he turned down the role, but it was supposed to star Richard Pryor, but he didn't want to take the role.
That would have been so crazy.
It was very, very, very funny movie. It was also one of the first in cinema to do the type of comedy that it did, and kind of the slapstick kind of humor that you see in it. It was the first one of major production value to kind of be put out into the masses for the 70s, and there wasn't really too much of that going on before. Maybe the only thing really compared to was like the Three Stooges, I guess. But for what it kind of did and what the message it sent, and a lot of the movies in my list, you'll hear me talk about the effects it had on the wider society, because I think when we talk about the best movies of all time, we want to talk about maybe the most influential and the ones that had the most effect on our society, and maybe were the most representative of our society. So,
if I'm honest, my top 10 is my favorite movies. So I didn't prepare for.
You got to just say why it's your favorite then.
Okay.
Like what's the?
You're fine. Yeah. But no, this one was. It's very, very funny. I encourage anybody that wants to see a comedy, especially one that's maybe not just the obvious line of comedy. It takes a little bit of it's a little bit of a higher wit kind of comedy, so some kind of appreciates some of the double entendres and some of the sarcasm that's there. It takes a little bit of it's not the obvious funny joke. Maybe it's the second or third remove, but it's because of that. It's a super funny movie. And again, groundbreaking cinema for having the 2-star lead roles, one black, one bleeding white. Interestingly enough, John Wayne was actually going to be in it as well. I really wish it would have starred Richard Pryor and John Wayne, because that would have been kind of the melding, but they both turned down the role for some reason. Not that the 2-star leads weren't very comical in their own right. But yeah, very, very good. Kind of, if anybody's wondering or thinking of a movie similar, kind of like the Monty Python Holy Grail vibe, sort of like that.
Oh, really? So it's like funny.
Oh yeah. Yes. It's definitely a comedy. Probably the best one of that decade, or at least one of the highest grossing of that decade. But that would be my number 10. Yeah.
Oh.
I think my first time watching that was with you, and I was really fucking high.
It is a very, very good movie to watch when you are high.
Dude, that's cool. All right. Let me go ahead and go on my number 9. My number 9 is Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump is such a good film movie, but I think it's my number 9 because I think it gives such a valuable life lesson in Forrest Gump. And I think the great thing about this movie and the value and the life lesson it teaches you is you don't need to be like this powerful, like you don't need to be like incredibly like smart or anything like that to do great things in life. And
Stupid
sometimes,
is what stupid does.
yeah, exactly. And sometimes like you could just go for a run and people just see you as like this, magical person that have purpose when all you really want to do is just go for a run. And that's really what life is.
Forrest
And
Gump
so,
would have inspired David Goggins.
yeah,
Really?
exactly. And like I believe it's Tom Hanks' most iconic role too. It literally
Yeah, I agree.
made Tom Hanks like
Castaway
the
was
mega
pretty
star,
good.
I was
And,
about to say Castaway was pretty crazy, but yeah.
that's true. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. Castaway was
We
was
all saw
probably-
Castaway. I didn't expect
Hell
that.
yeah, dude.
Well,
Yeah.
That volleyball was all
you
he
brought
had.
up a good point about Forrest Gump though, because like personally, I understand like overthinking shit and overcomplicating life when it really can be simple and enjoyed more, and you can accomplish more by just living a kind of simple life and approaching things in a more simplistic manner.
That's what I think one of the main points of the movie, and I think
never thought of it like that. So that is a good
I think
point.
it's such a like valuable like lesson, like to teach people. So I think it's a movie that everybody needs to at least watch once to really get to see like life. Like you just life could just be very simple, and you just need to go and enjoy and like go and pursue life, and you're gonna just do great things like Forrest Gump, even though Forrest Gump isn't the brightest person.
Yeah, it's a good point.
All right, Shazahh, what's your number 9?
Y'all ever seen the movie Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Oh, what a movie!
That movie's so fucking good.
Let me tell you,
What's
boys.
your number 9? Why is that your number 9?
Well, because so when I made my top 10, I thought of movies that stuck with me. So like the first 10 movies I thought of were the movies I wrote down because I don't watch movies that much. I'm actually like not a person who I don't like to spend 2 hours wasting my time on something that might not be good. And so I picked the movies that I've watched multiple times just because they're that fucking good. And I've seen Nightcrawler like 3 or 4 times, and it's so fucking good. Okay, so the concept of the movie isn't related to anything else in reality. It's literally just like a one concept movie that someone made, and it's beautiful because it really shows like the dark side of journalism and the dark side of ambition. And like the way this dude was driven, like he had nothing else in his life. And then out of nowhere, he picks up a camera, he gets paid for something. And from that moment, he's like driven, like fucking extremely driven to do something. And so funny story, my first time watching that movie, if my fiance watches this, skip this part, it'll be about 3 minutes. I actually got invited to hang out with a girl, just as friends, to watch a movie. She put this movie on. And I got laid because I hadn't done anything but cuddled her the entire time. And I'd never said it out loud, but it's because the movie was so fucking good. I was so focused on the movie.
Yeah.
And like it's Nightcrawler is just like it's beautifully shot. I love that like they give you angles from the camera. I love that it's not like centered on some big ass idea. It's really just one dude's ambition and like basically the daily events of his life leading to the conclusion, which is his partner dying and him recording it because it's fucking news. Like
because it makes money. Yeah.
Because it makes money. So I like it because it shows how far someone who's driven can go, and it shows how far ambition can take you. And it shows how demented you have to be to really pursue your dreams to the end. Like it shows that ethics dissolve in the face of ambition. And it's just, it's so good the way that he like starts off stealing a bike and ends like recording his dead friend who wasn't really his friend. And then, the end of the movie is him with more bands, more crew, more camera.
Just wins.
And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think it deserves a number 9 spot because it's so good. It's such a unique idea, and it was so well thought through. And Jake Gyllenhaal,
Jake Gyllenhaal. Do you know he didn't get an Oscar for that? He didn't even get a nomination.
Such a good job.
Yeah, he didn't even get a nomination for that performance, like at all.
He did.
Oh. You're cutting out on us, Shazahh.
Experiencing some technical difficulties, I think.
Look how he buzzed. This guy. Well, okay. Well, he's dead to us.
It's a really good movie.
Oh, there you go. He's
Oh,
coming
he's
back.
back with us.
See, I had
Oh, there he is.
There
Okay.
you go. Okay,
He's back
you
with
were
us.
you were frozen on us right
Oh,
there.
Can you hear me?
You're like
Now he's in slow motion. Wait, is he good?
Oh,
Are
you good? Yeah, you
can
good
you
now.
hear me?
Okay, it's
Yep,
good
we
now.
got
Okay.
Okay. I said it's my number 9. It's just a really well thought out movie, really great actor, and I had a funny story attached to it. So I definitely thought it deserved the number 9 spot.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, movie that
Absolutely.
What's yours,
a movie
Chris?
that gets you laid. It got to go top 10, right?
So, I'll tell you, like, it was hard.
That
I had a
story
list
will
of
get me in trouble.
15, and it took me a while to whittle that down to 10. Number 9, of course, everybody's going to be familiar with it, right? Well, a lot of people will be familiar with it. I think it's a great movie in terms of the journey that's shown throughout, and that is The Revenant. Now,
Ooh,
any Leonardo DiCaprio fan is probably familiar with this movie.
yeah.
His first Oscar.
It's
Yes,
his
sir.
first
Yes, sir.
best actor win. Yep.
I should have put
And-
Titanic on my list.
I don't have that on my at my top 10, just so you know. But
Oh man,
that
but
is a
dude,
great movie.
it's so good because if you look at a lot of people, like, one, maybe have not seen it or don't know the level of like time that he put into this movie and the amount of reality that was based in it, which is something I think is very rarely seen in cinema. He was going through all of these, and those who aren't familiar, it's a good movie about a white man during kind of the turn of the century, when they're still warring with the Native American tribes in North America, and they're still kind of colonizing and getting at, pretty much getting into the West, basically. And you follow Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's
Winning.
he has pretty much a son with a Native American woman, and he's there with some fur traders. It stars him and Tom Hardy, who's kind of a ruffled up guy. He's a little bit of a villain, if you will. But basically, they're in the dead of winter trying to get these hides back to make money, because that's the only sustenance they have, right? So it shows them struggling, and it ends up being a true story of how Leonardo DiCaprio fights off this bear and survive.
Yeah,
Well,
the
he
most
doesn't-
iconic scene in the movie.
yeah, it's insane. Like the graphics, the effects, the level of scrutiny that Leonardo DiCaprio put into the movie to go through everything so that his acting was as true to what he would really be going through and experiencing and exhibiting in that type of environment and events is insane. I don't know if I've seen anybody to that level of dedication put into a role before, except for maybe The Machinist, right? But
Yeah, that dude had like psychological damage after that movie.
Yeah,
Losing
like
all
that. I
weight
mean,
fucked his brain up.
yeah, exactly. Like it was, and that's what's crazy to me. That's really what I think makes the best cinema, is that it's real. You're seeing that raw
I
emotion,
mean,
that
That's true.
sitting there
yeah.
freezing.
What's the actor's name that he's like, he only stars in a few films, and he did I can't think of it right now, but it's a method actor that's like really fucking good.
Daniel
And-
Day-Lewis.
Yes, Daniel Day-Lewis.
He's
I
actually
watched
my
that
favorite
movie
actor.
with when he was an oil tycoon.
Oh,
That should have made my top
Wait.
10.
Name something else he's in. I don't even know if I'm.
he's
What's
in
the name of
Gangs
that
of New
movie?
York. Gangs of New York. He's the guy who plays the bad guy in Gangs of New York.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Oh,
Daniel Day-Lewis. Yeah.
that's pretty.
He plays
yeah.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln's
Yeah.
another one. I can't
That's
think
why
of
I
the one
like
with the oil. It's a good fucking movie though.
Yeah. All right, my number 8. My number 8 is Parasite. This is the first international movie to win Best Picture. At the
Yeah, it
Oscars.
put Korean cinema on the map, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it really. Yeah, this is the movie that put Korea cinema drama on the map, and
I never saw it.
it's easy to see why, because the story is so talking about the high class and low class, and like how like these low class people go and like infiltrate and like just go and like like hide in and like be like just these parasite to the high class, the rich people.
It's a movie about communism?
You haven't seen the movie, dude?
No, I haven't seen the movie.
Oh my god!
It literally it shows the
Yeah.
juxtaposition of poor and
Yeah.
rich and how far it's come in this world
Yeah.
so well. It shows
Yes,
it so
really.
like it shows you like when it rained, and there was a scene where it rained, and it shows you that like all the poor people had to like gather their stuff. They had to like get the water out of their house because their house can't stop the
They
rain
live
from
below the
rain.
gutter line.
Yep.
And
And
like
it's
they look out
rich
the window,
people.
and it's an amazing shot. And the only reason I'm helping explain this, Lee, is because Parasite is my number 7. So I agree with you
Oh
here.
really?
Oh,
Because,
they share a
bro,
movie.
it's Bro, it's an amazing shot. They like look up at their window outside of their house, and it's like street view, but you're looking at like people's feet in the gutter, and it's an
Whoa.
insane shot. And the
But
water's
like,
coming
yeah,
in and flooding the little bit they. Oh, what a
yeah.
shot!
But see, like, what's interesting is like the lower people, they see it as a tragedy because the water is coming and flooding and destroying their houses and all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
While the rich people, it shows you the rich people, and it shows you they think it's beautiful because they're protected from it, and they think it's just beautiful to just look outside, look at the rain and stuff like that. But all the poor people see it as like like just this big problem that like screw their houses and stuff. And it also shows you kind of like how like a lot of people are very parasitic, where like if they see something great, they're gonna try to like pretend to be what they're not, and try to like get the way into that like a great place like rich and powerful people, And so it's a lot of themes, and it's very great. It has crazy twists in the movie too that I'm not gonna talk about because I want you to go watch it, Shazahh. How dare you not see that movie?
I'll watch it. It sounds really interesting. I like the what you just said about how people like they try and fit in, because like I'm a big proponent. Like I really do think that like some shit should be changed, but I don't think shit should be changed because people are too weak to change it. And like people, if the movie does like portray poor people, like we have a real problem in a lot of communities where people are purchasing more than they can afford and trying to fit in rather than taking community action and bringing income into their communities and working towards certain jobs. So I'll probably watch it because of that. I think that's a really interesting concept that like some of this could be mitigated through like a social uprising or like that's interesting though. I didn't hear too much about the movie, to be honest. I knew it was really popular, and for like a long time I avoided really popular shit because I thought it was like all garbage. But now I don't know.
Not all of them, but some of them are.
That's a fair. I would say generally that's probably a pretty accurate description. I'm just being honest. I think it being that popular, it's just like it's an accurate thing that you'll be right more times than you're wrong. I think with that outlook, unfortunately, these days everybody loves it. It's probably some hot trash.
I don't know if I agree with that, honestly.
Oscar.
I think that if like
all right, let's do a cut break real quick. How long and how hard, especially me and Eithor over here. How long have we tried to find good horror movies? Huh? And see, like the real reason this is the truth is that, bro, how long have the writers been on strike? You know what I mean? They're not paying them nothing. All the money's going to them big fake stars. You know what I mean? Like we've had some good cinema, but we got to look to freaking South Korea to make that. They won that. They won.
Cinema in America is like it's a generic stamp on every fucking movie, just in a different scenario. I mean, let's be honest. There's always a multiracial cast. There's no like there's no line. You know what I mean? Exactly. Everything's like in this happy land where everything's okay for the audience. Like I like being jarred. Like Nightcrawler. Yeah. Like give me some more of that shit. Like
exactly.
I don't want to see a gay dude lead in that. Like it doesn't matter if he's gay, but the problem is like that becomes like a personality in the movie, and it destroys like there's tropes now. There's disgusting tropes now.
It becomes forced, and that's the problem. Yeah. Like it's like they just force it in there to have it in there, and it's not actually like a plot.
And they're not even when they do it that way, it's not even the real thing of what they're trying to do. It's fake. Exactly. Oh man.
Yeah. What's your number 8, Shazahh? Let's continue.
So I've got Princess Mononoke. It's a Studio Ghibli movie.
You got an animation.
Ghibli.
I respect that a lot, honestly.
I own
that one. So hold on, that one was Spirited Away. Okay, all right.
Spirited Away isn't as good.
What? Really?
Princess Mononoke is a more grown like movie. Like I feel like it's definitely meant for more mature.
I'll be fair. I haven't seen Princess Mononoke, so I'll be all right.
Oh, you have not seen Princess Mononoke?
It's my favorite like Studio Ghibli movie. It's very beautifully shot. So basically, the story starts with this like guy who lives in like they're kind of like outcast from their previous kingdom, right? And so like it as a poor kid, I really like felt that shit because like all I really had was like my community. And this fucking beast spirit attacks his village and it curses him. And his shaman, Eithor over here, is a practicing shamanist. No, I'm just kidding. But his shaman basically says he needs to go on this quest to get rid of the evil or it's going to consume him and destroy the town. And so for me, as a kid, I felt like that was poverty. and like poverty was this evil that I was like latched on to, and I had to get away in order to escape poverty. And so his journey is basically a journey to like find a way to cure this curse. And on it, he goes into this forest and he meets the forest spirit, which is this weird elk-looking thing. And there's these little cute like forest spirits that roam around and guide him through because he's a pure-natured soul. And he ends up meeting this girl who is like an adopted daughter of one of the forest spirits, which is like this big-ass wolf. And he thinks that she's gorgeous and he wants to save her life. And there's this other shit going on. Jada Pinkett Smith is a voice actor in it. Billy Bob Thornton's a voice actor in it. And basically what's happening beyond that, because like in poverty, like you're limited to what's going on in your community, right? But outside of that, there's this woman who's leading like a town, and like she's putting all the women to work, and the men are kind of like these lazy buffoons that go to get food and shit. And it opens your mind to like the fact that there's a reality outside of your own, and that you can still have an impact on that reality, because he ends up saving everyone's life. And it's a very awesome movie. It's very beautiful. There's a lot of like adult concepts in it, and it's a really great movie. So that's why it's on my number 8. I think we're at 8 right now.
I respect that. You put an animation up here. I don't have an animation in mind because
I've watched it so many times, dude. I've watched Princess Mononoke so many times. Like,
that's a good one.
I would replay it on VHS just because it made me so happy.
The problem with a lot of animation for me is especially the one in America, is like they make it like very kiddie, and they play too safe with it. I feel like like it could be so much more, you know. And that's kind of why like I'm really into like some anime too, because they do really good like theme and really good messages and stuff like that. But like a lot of movies, like animation movies, they just like they don't like really like, I don't know, they don't like really push that level for me. And that's I don't have.
I agree.
My top 10 at all. But Princess Mononoke, like if I make like a top 20, that one and Spirited Away, those two are like neck to neck to me, and like I would have it on my top 21%.
Yeah. America will never make a good adult animation movie.
That's my point. Like they're too they play too safe for me, and so it's hard for me to like rank them.
If they do, it'd be super weird. There's probably been one we're not thinking of right now, but it wouldn't hurt. Like the show Invincible is pretty good, but that's
the show. Yeah, they are getting there. They're taking baby steps.
I think they're realizing with animation they can kind of do what the fuck they want compared to like live action performances, because not many people watch the animations. But I'm sorry, Chris, what's your number 8?
Yeah. No. So we got my number 8. I don't know. It might be on your guys' list. I think I got to say, going into it before we get too far down on the list, I think we'll have more similar movies. I think we'll have maybe even at least 3 or 4. I think more than. I think it's and this is Dark Knight, right?
Oh my God! Okay,
I did not pick that movie.
I didn't say an honorable mention. The Dark Knight would have been on my honorable mention. It's just it's hard to put the dark. Like I actually had that movie on my list. It was hard for me to like. It was like number 7 at one point. And then every time when I think of another movie that I really like, it goes down and goes down and goes down.
Yeah.
It went out of my top 10. So
is that the one with Bane or Two-Face?
No. This is Heath Ledger, baby.
This is the one with Heath Ledger Joker, dude.
Heath Ledger, baby. Yeah. He gave his life for this role. I got to throw it in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. This one, like Lee, it was my number 11. I'm gonna throw out Parasite because we've been over that one. This one was what it's gonna be. But yeah, it's just such a good movie, man. I think Heath Ledger probably has top 3, in my opinion, right? I think top 3 performances ever made in film history, right?
Is Brokeback Mountain one of them?
No, this Joker movie is so much, like his performance in this is so much better than that.
Yeah, I remember for a minute I went crazy and tried to like really reenact his performance with
because he made the Joker like actually scary. Like the Joker used to just be like this comedical like character that's just chaotic, but he actually make the Joker like freaking scary. Like,
you know what's the deal?
Like telling the story of like how he got his scar and stuff like that. And
he's what really got me into. That's the movie that got me into like comics, like understanding the Joker and all the timelines. So that's definitely a really good mention.
And I'll give you something.
He's got some competition in the role too. I mean,
I didn't realize like comics get dark. You know, comics get really fucking dark.
I do think The Dark Knight is the movie that made that show everybody that superhero movies can be like very good and legit.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, we shit on like adult animation movies, but The Killing Joke is really good actually, and Red Hood is really good.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
those,
okay, yeah. The animation, movies are they're amazing, but like I don't know, they just don't have like that like fan base that big enough that really spread it, which is so important. Yeah,
people don't know, man.
which is
And
awesome.
honestly,
Yeah,
bro,
they're
if
amazing.
DC would learn from the success of that movie and apply that to their future movies with the realness and the adultness of it, and stop trying to kidify everything like they do with Marvel, I think they would do really, really well. Like they just got to take that and do better.
Just as a side note, I think this is the problem with having a lot of yes men around you is like it. I think that really deteriorates like shit. Like back in 2008, like that's when that movie was made, I assume. But whenever the movie was made, like shit was much harder. You know what I mean? Like people were really critiqued. You know what I mean? There wasn't like a company that was owned to give you good reviews. Like, I mean, there's a lot of movies now that come out, if they don't agree with like mainstream narrative, like they're critiqued to shit. Like a lot of shit's manufactured now. So like without any honest critique, you like everything is good. And you know, the people who don't realize that they're bad, once they're told they're bad, get really offended that they've been told they're bad. And like once you get rid of that like honesty in art, it kind of like I really think that's why movies are the way they are now. You know, because like you're saying, like imagine making that shit and an actor committing suicide on set. You know, imagine what that would be like now. Imagine what the backlash would be like. Imagine like, you know what I mean? Like that studio wouldn't release the movie. Yeah. I think we've changed, and I think you're right. I think like they should look back on that shit because like that was sauce. That was a banger, bro. I think it's one of the like highest grossing movies of all time.
It was, yeah, 100%. All right, let's continue. My number 7. All right, my number 7. I watched this with both of y'all, and you both fall asleep.
Oh,
and
I already know what it is.
I was super amazed by this movie. All right,
did it have to do with outer space?
I believe this is the movie that inspired Star Wars, actually, and it's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, I definitely fell asleep to that shit.
Yeah,
this movie talks about.
There's like no dialogue.
This movie doesn't have a lot of dialogue in it, but it doesn't need it.
Wally.
Yeah, it's just it talks about evolution and like how like even though evolution and see how people evolve from apes to like very advanced living in freaking space and stuff like that, we still are the same people, and then we still react similarly to like the random black box. Like it shows how like the apes reacts to it, and it also shows how like the future man reacts to it that live in space, and it's still very similar.
Primordial human nature, baby.
Even though it shows that even though we evolve as human, we are still human and we're still the same. And so it's so cool. And this is the movie that put like the AI thing, like I think it's the one that really put the AI like that the AI could be like crazy bad on the map with like hell.
Yeah,
it was freaking crazy. And
one of the greatest directors of all time, Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, like it had so much. It had such an iconic music too. It's so iconic, and so because of that, I had to put it on my list. And everything in the movie is so iconic. All the music, the story, and talking about how AI could become like very dangerous when if it has like intelligence and all that stuff. I just think the movie's amazing.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Deus Machina?
Oh yes, I've seen that. Yeah,
I have not seen it, but I hear it's like it kind of follows the theme of like
it does
2001: Space Odyssey.
It follows the theme of AI, yeah. It follows the theme of AI, but because 2001: A Space Odyssey came out in 1968. This movie came out in 1968. Yeah, and
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful
movie. It does all this ahead of time, so it's just way ahead of its time, and I think that's why it deserved that this number 7 spot.
Yeah, that's a good call.
What's your number 7?
Number 7, Interstellar.
Ooh.
Interstellar stayed with me. I thought it was so beautiful because like and not for like the little bullshit. I think it's like Matthew McConaughey getting called up is just it for me. It was like he cared about his kids, and I thought that was beautiful. Like he put his potential to the side for his children, and it's kind of like a reminder that as long as you like maintain and like keep up with your craft, you can always realize your potential. and it kind of brings into sight like what's important in life, and it's time, and it's the way you use your time. And so whenever he leaves, and it's only been a couple of minutes on the planet, or like hours, and then he fucking gets off the planet and he finds out it's been like 28 years or something, and you get to see his children progress through time. So like I didn't have a dad growing up, you know, and so like to embody the perspective of a man who wanted to be a father but couldn't be a father was like very touching to me, because he watched his son have children over like video. You know, he watched his son die. He watched his daughter grow up, and then at the end when he's able to communicate with his daughter, I thought Interstellar as a whole was a more impactful movie, not for like the space element of it, but for the like perspective of potential and the cost of like chasing your potential. You know, like he could have just stayed home with his kids, and he could have like just, you know what I mean? And when you think of the girl and how she was so obsessed with this guy, and so she chose a planet based on that decision, on that like emotion, you know, it shows how bias can really affect your life, even if it's not your own bias. It shows how bias from other people. So it's like, for me, it was like, it's the movie showed why it's important to choose carefully the things you do, where you put your time, and to be very aware of the people you surround yourself with. Because if you're like sacrificing something as important as your children for something as ambitious as like saving the world or finding a new world, you know, I think it's really important to put into perspective the things that you're going to lose on that journey, and stand up, you know, standing up for, because he told her we should go to this other planet, and like he just went along with it, and then he lost his fucking kids, and he lost their entire lives. And you know, so for me, Interstellar deserves the number 7 spot because it stuck with me. It's a beautiful story. It's such a visually appealing fucking movie, and Matthew McConaughey just did such a great job, man. I cried when he cried. It was fucking. Could you imagine not like seeing your daughter as a little girl and then seeing her again later as an adult, like within basically days? I would fucking die. All right.
Matthew McConaughey, bro. What a fucking
dude.
Well, all that was missing is a beard. He just needed a Lincoln. He just needed a Lincoln in the movie, and he would have been. What
I've
an
never
actor!
seen that movie. The Lincoln Lawyer. Is that what's your fucking number 7, Chris?
My number.
It was Parasite.
No, Parasite was my number 8. But I already subbed that out, so that's why I threw in Dark Knight. Now listen, we got this one here, boys. It's hard to say. I can't. It's here's what's. It's going to be a trilogy in one, right? So, but I'm just going to highlight.
I know what it is already.
now listen here. We got the best trilogy of all time. Okay, and we got the Return of the Motherfucking King, boys.
Yeah,
okay?
I agree.
Listen,
Lord of the Rings, you have to put all 3 movies in. Like,
listen, it's just not many people know. A lot of people, everybody here, we're all interested in film. Those even not interested in film, Pulp Fiction, right? People know about it. It did better than Pulp Fiction on IMDb. Like, that movie is the best trilogy, I think, ever made. It's not only the movie. I can't think of any other movie.
They say dudes that are into Lord of the Rings are far right now. So you're too masculine for liking that movie.
Far right. What is that, Republican?
Yeah.
That's conservative, yeah.
You're just extremist. You're an extremist populist.
Hey, listen. If there were elves, I'd be a fan, and I'd be a fan of the populist.
What did you like really like about that movie? Because I know that this is one of your favorite films. Actually, I think I heard you say you've read the books also, or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
so I didn't read all of them.
This has you really really love the Lord of the Rings. Like this isn't just like a top 5 because it's good. This is like a top 5 also because like you fucking love this.
This movie, bro, it's just when it goes into like when everybody thinks about when they're back in elementary school or maybe a younger kid, they think of fantasy worlds. They think of like, oh, what if, I could draw these creatures? What if I could make up these creatures? Maybe they got more wild imagination. What if I could maybe even create like a world or a language on my own and all that stuff? Everybody has that interesting fantasy and wants to have and develop that whole world. And a lot of people, everybody wants to connect. So they would like to share that, right? So this is the only and the biggest and the best, in my opinion, example of this. And not only that, it's not like, hey, let's come together and make a movie because people want to see it, because it's politically correct, because it's gonna do really good for this base or this actress, or we're woke, we want to send this message. It's, hey, I'm some guy that's really, really good and talented. Let me create a language.
Yeah.
And now let me
So
go
fucking
from that
crazy.
to a whole world.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
impressive. Yeah.
let me
It's really
get a master's degree, which she does have, by the way, and spend like a ton of time in New Zealand and all those other countries that they shot in. And then let me, after I've created an entire world, an entire language, which is really, if anybody appreciates attention to detail and depth, which I do, I'm sick of all the superficial movies these days. Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings is what you're going to find. There's so much depth. I've read the book before. Even any of the 3 movies were apparently written, right? That they have the time frame. They have books for 1, 2, and 3. The Silmarillion is the book that goes before that, before the Land of Middle Earth, and how you led into that before even the One Ring was created, which is very interesting. And actually, you can learn the language within the book as well. As you can see, I've delved pretty deep into the movie. But what a movie. Let me tell you what a movie. Like when I was a kid, Orlando Bloom, it seemed like that was his kind of claim to fame. Of course, I was very young when it came out. I hadn't seen him in other stuff. But like, who else slides downstairs on a fucking shield with a machine gun going through, putting arrows in necks, baby? That's all he's doing. It's just what a trilogy.
Legolas was my favorite too.
And then they broke my heart. And
Legolas is your favorite?
Yeah.
Come on.
Tragically
Legolas
bad.
was definitely my favorite.
You guys.
Legolas, who? Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to be an elf?
Aragorn is the best. In my opinion.
Yeah.
He's always the best to me. He's such a great leader. But okay, but I agree with you. Like Lord of the Rings, like literally set the bar for a fantasy movie. Like now every fantasy movie that came out after that,
sure.
like it has to match it, which is like impossible. And then if it doesn't match it, no one gives a shit about it. And so now fantasy, it kind of ruins fantasy movie because now when people try to make fantasy movie, they have to compete with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he made a version of reality that we all assumed was real for a second.
Yeah,
you know?
really,
and that's real art.
We always wanted, like, we always pretend to play when we were kids. Yeah, he actually make a world like that, like actually come to life, like on TV. And so it's the movie just ruins fantasy movies when it came out. And so like now, that's a good choice. That would have been up there too if I had like a top 15, 100%.
I like The Hobbit a lot. Personally,
right. You do?
Come on. I kind of like The Hobbit more than the original 3.
Shut the hell up, bro. What the hell? You like? No, dude. Come on. You're lying.
Come on, dude. The Desolation of Smaug, bro. What are you talking about? The fucking tiny people going and looking for gold.
Third movie was not good. That's the thing. All trilogy had it to be good. The third was not good, in my opinion.
Yeah, no. I definitely agree that the original Lord of the Rings is better. But in terms of like an experience that I enjoyed, I thought that The Hobbit didn't have as many like beats, like pauses in between and like extended dialogue. You know, if you have the attention span, if you follow the original trilogy, it's beautiful, cinematically perfect, but
it's long. You watch the extended version.
If you lack an attention span, it's hard to get through.
Yeah, the extended version movie's like 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that it's worse. Personally,
all right. Let me continue. Let's continue on the list. My number 6 is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, and it's not Pulp Fiction. It is Inglourious Bastard.
Oh, what a movie!
I love that. This movie is almost a horror movie for me because there's so many intense scenes in this movie, and I think this movie has hands down one of the best villains, one of the best antagonists in Christopher Walken playing Hans Landon.
Question: Do you guys think sociopathy makes a good villain? Because like both of the villains y'all have said is the best are like they portray sociopaths.
Wait, so have you seen this movie?
No, but I've seen.
How do you even know that?
Of this movie. And he plays like a really good sociopath. Like he's smiling at people and threatening them.
He's so good at playing.
He's so good at making like.
He's such a Nazi, you know.
Yeah, he makes scenes super intense in the movie, and I've never been like so intense in a movie that isn't even a horror movie. And it's
Quentin Tarantino describes in an interview that he wanted to make it like a rubber band, and he wanted to see how far he could pull the tension before it snapped.
I know, like what Quentin Tarantino does so well is he's good at like making silent like scenes. When that scene gets silent, it gets so intense out of nowhere, and it's just like, oh my god, you can feel the tension like right off the bat. Like when when he went into that little village house, and all the Jews were hiding under the floor, and then he's just talking with the dude on the table, and then like you just like, oh my god, he's gonna find out that these Jews are under the ground, and then and all that stuff. Like it's insane. And also like the main characters they're called the bastards. They're like bad people really too. Like there's a scene where like he just beat like this German guy with a baseball bat. If that was
wait, why do you say they're bad people? Those guys are great people.
No, because it's just like it's just distasteful, but we don't see it as distasteful. Because they're the protagonists, right?
I like what you're saying right now, Lee. It fucks with your mind because, like, if you were to objectively look at it, not through the lens of good guy and bad guy,
it's messed up. The dude was just beating him with a bat. Yeah, and it's messed up, but it doesn't seem messed up because they're the protagonists. You see, so it literally plays like the opposite side and shows that if you see them as the protagonist, you don't see it as messed up. It's crazy.
That's a really good point.
Well, yes.
That's why I like the movie. I think that's why it's my number 6. It plays with your brain. The intense scenes are so intense. It's like a horror movie. And that's why I love the movie. And I think Hans Landa is one of the best villains. He really is. He's
good, man. I'm telling you, he's good. A great actor.
So that's my number 6.
That's a good one. My number 6 is Life of Pi. I did this drug called Triple C because you couldn't like get drugs in the place that I was at in another country, and me and my buddy, his name is Ted, we got really fucked up on these things called Triple C's, and we watched The Life of Pi, and it's so memorable to me because we spoke like cavemen, and we were so fucked up we spoke like cavemen, and we were in a tent full of like 40 people, and it's like 2:00 in the morning, and you at the end of the movie I figured out what the plot was, like what actually was happening. And the thing is, the guy, when he experienced this, so basically there's a shipwreck and he's on a life preserve boat, right? And the movie portrays him with a bunch of animals because his family owned a zoo. But at the end of the movie, what you realize is that each of those animals actually represented a person, like a real human. And in order to deal with the trauma, so what happened was people died on there, and then one guy ate his mom. They killed his mom, and they ate his mom. Damn, and in order to deal with that trauma, he recreated the story with them as animals. And so me and my buddy are in the tent saying, "Mom orangutan! Mom orangutan!" And then Ted was like, "Mom orangutan!" because we were talking like cavemen. But bro, when you realize what a mind fuck it is that the story of the animals are actually humans, so everything those animals are doing to each other, he actually experienced as grown men and women doing to each other. And so to think that the kid, and at the end he says, if I told you the truth of what happened, I'm not sure that I could deal with it. And so he basically tells the guy that's interviewing him, like, there's a reason that I chose them as like animals. But when you fucking realize that his mom was killed and eaten in his face in the middle of the ocean, and then he had to kill her murderer, and then he had to stay in the boat with his mother's body. Oh my gosh. Bro, the levels of mind fuckery that movie gives you once you like realize that his mother was the orangutan.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
It deserves its spot. But
I haven't seen that movie, but now
I
really want to watch it. So I'm definitely gonna check the movie out now.
Yeah, dude. The book is supposedly better, but you really should watch it, dude. I fucking ruined it for you though. That is the biggest spoiler. People watch that movie and they don't realize that. Because the part where he tells you that they're humans is so small. It's like 30 seconds that he says it. And if you miss that part, you miss the whole concept of the movie.
Okay.
But if you I rewatched it after that, and it's like gruesome, dude. It's a very gruesome fucking film. So 10 out of 10.
Visually stunning too.
Yeah.
Visually stunning.
That's good.
Yeah, when he's on the island and there's like a tooth on the island, I'm not sure what that represents, but
it's a crazy cinematographic thing anyway. No, so my number 7, I don't know, Mahia, I don't know if you've seen this. I think I showed Lee. I don't know if he.
You mean your number 6?
Yes, my number. I don't know if. I think you fell asleep, bro. I don't know.
Me?
That's The Patriot. All right.
Really, no, good.
I remember The Patriot.
Such a good movie. Christian Bale again, taking it home. Mel Gibson, like It covers it gives a true and accurate, with mild exaggeration of recounts the events of the Revolutionary War and how a ragtag kind of group of people, and it really that's what it really is good at showing, is how America went from the grassroots up and just found strength within each other to overcome this bigger power and this authoritarian kind of power that we're trying to be exuded over them. Just the action scenes, the way that they kept the audience engaged, but still like had a big fixation on not only just like highlighting military tactics and how that all unfolded and what some of the British people did and all that, but it was just a lot of, it had romance, it had anything you really want in a movie. It had revenge of the greatest order. So one of the greatest revenge movie scenes of all time is in this. Like it's not up there with Star Wars, but it's close. It's a very, very good battle scene, good effects for the time. Some of the most gruesome fight scenes as well you'll see in this movie, and they happen in the beginning. Especially, this movie does a great job of kind of getting you into the movie. Like very, very early on, I won't spoil it too heavily, but the guy basically decides to take in people from both sides, both revolutionary, people in North America, and then the redcoats, right, the British. He takes in both of them because there's a battle damn near in his front yard. He sees the cannon fire in the morning. It's a bigger house back in the plantation days, so he's got about a half dozen children. They're taking care of the wounded, and the British won the battle, so they show up to the house in the morning around 10 o'clock, and basically they say, hey, what do you want to do with the wounded on the other side? And he's like, oh, just kill them, it's fine. So they kill everybody that they were taking care of, and then they say, hey, what do you want to do with the guy's house and everybody in the family? He's like, well, they aided the enemy, so they burn his house down as well and kill some of his children for intervening. So from that and the shift in kind of how it shows manhood being attained in such a young age in American society, like you see probably ages 8 to 12 having to become a man and grow up in a rather rapid fashion after having seen one of their brothers killed in front of them, and the battle scene that follows it. Oh, such a good movie. Such a good movie. Had to be
I'll
on
probably
the
watch
spot.
that. Life expectancy back then was like 40 or 50. So.
Yeah.
And women used to have like 12 or 14 kids because they knew some of them would die. Like there's really dark history. Like we're so used to what we have now that we've had for like 40 or 50 years, but like bro, 100 years ago, motherfuckers were struggling to live. Like that's cool. I'd watch that. I like that shit.
All right, top 5 time. These are the real heavy hitters now.
All
right. My number 5.
It's a vintage porn movie. Watch. No, I'm just kidding.
I guess so. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
You motherfucker!
Yeah.
I knew it. That off my list now.
I knew it.
That's my number 5. This movie.
That's literally
first of
my
all,
number 5.
I just want to say Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh is actually my celebrity crush when I was little, because she used to play. She used to be in a Hong Kong movie called Wing Chun, and that movie, she was like the female Jet Li for me. So because of that, she says she has always been my celebrity crush, and it's awesome to see her win.
Is it racist that she's your celebrity crush partially because she's Asian?
What? That's not what I said.
I mean, I assume.
It sounded like it.
It sounded like.
No, I said no. Did you not hear what I said? I said because she watched
an Asian woman. I don't know.
I said because she was in a movie called Wing Chun.
Yeah.
In 1994. And it was one of my favorite. It was one of the movies I watched all the time when I was little, and because of that, she's just like my celebrity crush. But anyways, but Everything Everywhere All at Once. This movie, my God, I mean, there's so many things in this movie.
If you've done acid, it really makes more sense too. Like, I don't know, my brain has experienced like what her daughter experienced, like the everything bagel, like. If you go really far down rabbit holes, you play out scenarios hundreds of years into the future, and like you kind of feel numb to the experience everyone else is experiencing because they're not thinking as deeply or as hard. And like, dude, that fucking movie makes me cry every time because like it reminds me how lonely. Like I'm her daughter sitting on the cliff. Like I'm fucking so lonely sometimes. God, it's such a great film.
No, it's great, and like the movie really just touch on like. Just enjoy the good moments, Like there's a lot of bad things that go on in your life. And like a lot of people focus on the bad things. That's what the daughter is. She focused all on the bad things that go on in all the fucking multiverse and all the universe. While the husband, Wingman, shows that you focus on the good things and you will enjoy your life more. Even if you experience all the bad, you enjoy all the good too. And all the good is what's worth living for, you see? Like I think it nailed the point so spot on for me.
Yeah.
I had to put it on number 5 because of
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree with you. That's also my number 5.
Oh really? Look at that. Okay.
It's so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
I don't know like how you had the brain to come up with that. You had to have
Right.
experienced an ego death. Like I think the only way
Maybe a
you make a
couple of
movie
ego
like
deaths.
that is by experiencing an ego death. Like that movie is just it's like I don't know, man. Like I have this problem with sanity sometimes where I get so like theoretical and abstract in my thinking that I need something to bring me back to earth. And you guys play a huge role in that. And like, love, like my love with my fiance plays a big role in bringing me back to earth a lot of times because I
Yeah.
start to wander off and I'm just gone for a little while. And I don't realize that I'm like somewhere not everyone else is. And that movie, like you said, it really hits on like just touching grass. Like just remember what you have now, and like I don't know. It's nice for a person like me who like goes really far into abstract thinking and feels like I'm crazy, and like knowing that like the things in life that are simple help me not be crazy, help me enjoy the simple things in life, and
Yeah.
also give me the opportunity to go crazy. I don't know. It for the first time, I felt like someone saw the world like I did when I saw that movie. And it was just cool to know that somewhere in society, there's other people who have experienced that kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but
Mhm.
definitely deserves its place.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. All right. What's your number 5, Chris?
So I'll start out by saying I don't know. These next movies aren't going to be in any particular order. We're getting to the realm of where it's kind of hard to.
Rank
One
them.
will be the best for its own reasons. It's hard at this point to kind of
Yeah.
parse through whether one's number 3, one's number 2.
Okay.
This one,
You're just gonna listen. One day. Yeah.
this one had a melodic
I think we
effect on
should
my
do
life.
our just we should jump to. Are we at top 4 right now? Or are we
We
top
are.
Top
3?
5.
Well,
I'm
he
doing
still has to
5.
give his number 5, but yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna be at top 4. Yeah.
Okay, we should after this one we should just say the go like 4, 3, 2, and then we'll save like number 1 because I'm
Okay.
with the not in specific order on these last couple because I love them all, but
Okay.
Yeah.
also I'm running out of time.
That's true. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
All
are
right.
running a little low on time. Okay.
So this
So go
one,
ahead.
number 5, but not number 5, right? This one was impactful to your boy Shazahh. I can say I know for a fact, and it's probably been a lot impactful for quite a lot of people, and that is Apocalypse Now. It is a movie that did so well to showcase the insanity and
Bro,
what
I
was
think of
different from
what
what the public.
previous soldiers have experienced in war so often. Like, not so often, but like, bro, the Vietnam War is crazy. Like, there's still soldiers over there.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
that movie that he's talking about, watch that shit. I'm sorry,
It
go ahead,
is
but
insane. It
it's
is insane.
insane.
He's right. No, yeah, it is. If you want to get a perspective of what it's like to be a soldier and like a soldier in war, I'm not talking about a garrison baby, like a soldier in war, that'll do it for you.
And
You
they're
have
Okay.
not
like,
like they're not like some shit maybe is like an over exaggeration, but like the Vietnam War was a lot like it's portrayed in
yeah,
Apocalypse Now. Like
Oh,
you
really?
need to
hmm
understand the historical context that's placed in is like real. Like that shit's
hmm
real. Like those women that they brought over that were fucking raped, like that shit's real, dude. Like fucking it's real, dude. Like it's not a movie.
That's why I love it so much. Is it's
It's
like
a
it's hard
crazy
to get a real
concept.
accurate account, and like not many people are open or will talk about what actually happened over there, especially the
Yes.
Bigger Brother or whatever or the news. But it's insane. It shows you some of the horrors and just the crazy things that would go on and be acceptable over there. It is insane. But yeah, definitely a must see. Lee, I'll send it off to you.
That's a
All
good
right.
one. I
So
want to say real quick, actually,
Yes.
since like the 1960s, since like the Cold War, like journalists have low key been intelligence agents. And so, like a lot of those wars from back then, you need to find independent sources on reporting. Matt Taibbi is an independent reporter that talks about his time in Russia during the fall of the Soviet Union, and he actually discusses how like reporters during the Soviet Union, like the Cold War, were intelligence agents and like they were giving a specific story to the American people. So if you're into that shit, like watch Apocalypse Now and then go down the rabbit hole and listen to Matt Taibbi talk about that shit, and it'll really reconstruct your idea of what's true and what's news. Sorry, Lee, go ahead.
Mhm.
no, you good. You good. All right. So I'm gonna run it down 42. All right, my number 4 is you do not talk about Fight Club, but I'm gonna talk about Fight
That
Club.
movie's so good. Tyler Durden.
This movie like just talks about mental health pretty much, and like how like sometimes people just want to fight. Sometimes people just like all you need is just fight to enjoy life, and and like the movie is called Fight Club, so you can expect to be a lot of fighting, but it's a lot of like really meaningful like topic of just like being mentally stable and just the mental health of like a human and all that stuff. So really enjoy that movie because of that. All right, my number 3.
Crazy twist, by the way. Just to touch on it, crazy fucking twist in that movie. I don't know how he ends up like running the world and shit. Like the
twist is crazy.
It's a crazy twist. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 100%. And then my number 3 is the first Godfather movie. Marlon Brando as Vito Corleone, I believe, is the greatest performance ever.
He put cotton balls in his mouth to be able to do that.
Yes. Like, you don't even need to watch The Godfather, and you would know who that character is.
I'm pretty sure he went crazy after that movie too, because it was so successful.
Yeah. The craziest part about his that character in that role in that movie, in that first movie, he didn't do anything in that first movie. Like the character doesn't do anything. He just gets shot. But like he didn't have to do anything. Like all you need to do is hear him talk, hear his dialogue, hear how he interact with people, and you see his influence and his power, which is so crazy to see. Like a lot of these movies now, when you got to see like a very powerful character. Like I'm gonna go with like Marvel Thanos for a second. You got to see him like destroy everybody to see how powerful he is. Vito, he didn't need to do like this character. He didn't even need to do any of that. He just
the aura.
You can feel his aura, and like he doesn't even feel like a bad guy, which is the craziest part. He doesn't even feel like a bad person. And
but movie, the show The Sopranos, isn't that like low key the same concept? Like. He's a bad guy, but
Sopranos like kind of it's a longer story and like they
I mean just the concept of like a murderous mafia boss coming off as a good guy.
But what it shows is like even if you're a mafia boss, you still like human. You still have like some good senses in you, and you still like kind of a good person, like a little bit. Like you still care about family, you still care about your kids. You still care about like the people that are around you and all that stuff. You just do bad things. Yeah.
Just to break the fourth wall, like, soldiers murder people, no matter what side you're on, you're murdering somebody. And like, you are like in America, you're renowned as this great thing, and a lot of soldiers come back with like this crazy PTSD because they've murdered people they didn't want to, and it's kind of the same concept. Like we are all people who make decisions based on what we believe. And sometimes those decisions result in death. But yeah, I mean, ultimately we're all human unless we're sociopathic.
Yeah. So that's my number 3, The Godfather. My number 2, I show you both this movie. I don't think Chris liked this movie. I don't know about you, Shazahh, but this one, I think this movie is super underrated, and it's Birdman. I love this movie. This movie,
it's interesting.
I love this movie because it honestly really just talks about like the American dream for me. It talks about this character, this person. His name is Regan Thompson, and he tries to become important in life again, and it shows you the struggle that he goes through, like trying to reach that and like trying to make something make himself like important again, and the struggle with that and the conflict he has to go through with that. I really appreciate that storyline a lot, and like this movie did the one take like 1917. It did it before 1917. It's 2000. This movie came out in 2014. It did that whole thing much earlier than 1917, and I think everybody performed well. Edward Norton performed well. Emma Stone performed amazing. Like everybody performed like
it's about like Michael Keaton. Like his role as Batman because it was so popular, right? Yeah. And like he's trying to reclaim that fame instead of being like Batman, and that's who Birdman is. It's like the alter ego of like his most famous self, and he's trying to recreate himself.
But that's just his alter ego. But like it's really just him trying to find his purpose again, really, and like trying to find his dream again, and seeing how hard it is, and like how like everybody around you kind of want to like not let you achieve your dream almost. Like everybody was like all against him. Even his daughter was like kind of like against him, and like it's just such a great. I just think it's such an important story on like how like you can't let anybody tell you, that you can't go and do what you want to do and achieve your dream. I think that's why I love the movie so much because of that. But that's my number 2. Go ahead, Shazahh. Give your list 4 to 2.
I'm gonna pass it over to Chris real quick, and then I'll do mine after him.
Okay. All right. So number 4 to 2. Let's start out at the top. I know this is a movie kind of talks on like what Lee was saying with the mental health thing. I think it's something that shows a very, very good perspective of a very rarely seen in true form kind of psychological disposition, and that is American Psycho.
This dude, you're an American Psycho if this talks about mental health for you.
I totally forgot about that movie.
This dude's staring at a fucking business card having an orgasm. Like,
but other people do think like that. That's the thing.
That's fucking crazy.
But it's true. Yeah, it's just insane. It's insane. It shows a really, really good embodiment of like the really dangerous psychopathy a lot of the elite people in America get, with very obsessed with status and very sociopathic and as shown psychopathic. Because I mean that's the disposition of many CEOs. I mean I think it's something that's estimated around 50 to 60% of the CEOs in the top 100 are either psychopathic or have psychopathy of some sort, and it's insanely done. I mean, of course, he does he does the role super well. Really, really interesting. Again, it's kind of a suspense horror. If you're not into the more gory side of things, you may not be a huge fan of it. But I think when it comes to showing a certain way someone thinks and the psychology behind that, 10 out of 10. And then after that, we have one that's kind of like Lee was saying, a little bit modernly biased, but it's a movie, especially now. I think the timing kind of had something to do with when they put it out, because I think a lot of people needed a reminder of the scale and the breadth of what war can do, and that's Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer is my number 11. Oppenheimer is my number 11. I'm sorry. Yeah, I really wanted to put in my top 10.
That is not that good of a movie. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, yes it is. Yes it is. That movie cannot be redone, and it cannot be outdone. If you want to talk about something that's relevant now that people should be very aware of the severity of what happened and probably kind of sleep on it, it's that movie. Even it was a delayed production, but it actually showcased in Japan about 2 months ago. And hearing some of what people were saying about it was very, very interesting, because they showed it. They were openly kind of going over it. And yes, it can be a little bit. It's one you have to pay attention to. I think the majority of the ones are saying you have to pay attention to really get what's going on in the movie, because it's not some superficial kind of thing, but there's a lot to it, and it really does well to show what really happened.
I really liked the communist aspect of it. I thought that was interesting that they gave that kind of background and stuff, and like how the competition between them made them develop like a stronger bond. So I get like it's definitely like a very interesting movie. Not hating too hard, but
and then finally, before number 1, I have Lawless.
Oh my gosh!
Just what a picture! What a picture! Right? Like, it's not one that's it didn't gross amazing scores in the box office, but I think if you want to know about what it's like to be in the backwoods and be in the country in the moonshine era of America, you want to know what the people were like in the Great Depression, leading into the Great Depression, and even what people are like living in the hills these days, minus what they were doing. You watch this movie, right? Like it's got Tom Hardy. It's got one of the greatest actors of all time. It's got Shia LaBeouf. It's an amazing story. He does amazing. It's got I can't think of the actor's name now. Lee, you might know who it is. The guy that plays the boy that's a little slower. I know he's in several movies, but it's a lot. Almost the entire cast is well done. The story is told beautifully, super accurate, and just the way the cast brings it to the screen is amazing. Definitely a 10 out of 10. Just a beautifully told story, and something that I haven't seen done close to really the sequencing very well. Otherwise, it's just beautiful. But I'll cut it back to Shazahh now for the 4 to 2 before we capture and wrap up with our final ones.
Yep. Nope. Looked like he can't say it right away. Looked like he's dead. I guess Shazahh is just dead.
Shazahh is dead. I don't know. Do you?
Okay. I mean,
trade our number 1 spots, and then he can.
We'll just go number 1. Yeah, I feel like this dude is dead. He can give.
Lee, you can say your number 1.
Okay.
Yeah, Lawless is interesting. I've definitely seen that. I think I saw it with you though. I'm surprised that's your number one. It's a pretty interesting movie.
Well, that's not
That's
his
my
number
number
one.
two.
That's his number
Oh,
two.
okay.
He hasn't given number one yet.
Lawless at number one?
No. Okay. Are you good, or you want me to give my number one?
You can. Oh, I have to go up to number two, right?
Yep.
And we started with
42.
number 4.
Yep. 42.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys.
No, I understand.
Leaving. All right. So, okay, and I can actually show my face again. Okay. All right. So where's my fucking sticky note? All right. Let's see. All right. So.
All right.
Oh, I don't have my sunglasses on. I'm exposed. You ever seen Big Daddy with Adam Sandler? How the little kid feels invisible when he has his sunglasses on? That's not what this is. All right. So the town I thought was like one of the best fucking movies ever made.
So
and
good.
I just like when you feel like actual depression when characters die, I think you know that they did a good job. And like they're fucking bank robbers in fucking Charleston, you know, like why the fuck should I care? But like, dude, the town is at my number 4 because it was such a beautiful movie. They all like embodied their roles and just like it was such a really well done movie. And it's based on a true story.
On top of that, true story too.
True fucking story. And the way that Homeboy like saved his guy, like there's a movie called Let It Down or Set It Off, and it was about 4 black women that were robbers, and like the town reminded me of Set It Off, and like Queen Latifah's in there, and the cops have her like cornered. She pulls out a fucking machine gun to like the way that Homeboy dies outside, like that's how Queen Latifah died. Like she got out the car and she was like, and they like sprayed her up with bullets. So that's my number 4 is The Town. You should definitely watch it if you haven't. There's like some big names there. Ben Affleck, fucking.
He directed it too, yeah. Like
I did not know he directed. He did a great fucking job directing that. Then
no, he is honestly a better director than an actor. Like the dude is better at directing than being an actor.
I mean, he's really conceited. So I liked him in The Accountant though. That was a good movie.
He directed that too.
Did he really? Okay, he's a really good director.
I'm telling you, he's honestly a better director than an actor.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Okay, so I've got Toy Story at number 3. Now,
the original Toy Story?
Yeah, so one big reason is because of like lore. Additionally, like so Steve Jobs gets ousted from Apple, right, by the board, and he goes on to create this company called Pixar. And Toy Story is the very first movie that Pixar created. It is the very first company to create computer engineered animations. Yeah. And so I loved the movie before I knew that, but it made me love it even more because, I mean, like, you can't make a motherfucker quit, you know, and it's just beautiful that it ended up being one of the, like, biggest fucking, you know, computer animation companies. Like, Disney bought it, and, like, there's, like, Pixar's still in business now. But Toy Story, for me, is, like, you know, growing up how I did, it's hard to make friends. And, like, the way that him and Buzz become friends, and just like the community that he had, you know, I felt a lot like Buzz Lightyear, and it was beautiful to meet someone like Woody. And you guys are kind of like my Woody, you know, when You Got a Friend in Me starts playing, I'm always like, I got friends. And it's a very beautiful movie because, like, if you think of them not as toys and instead as men, like actual men, you know, it kind of shows how difficult it is to like overcome your ego to like let another man be your friend. And the way that they become best friends is through suffering. And like we suffered together, us three, and like it let us drop our egos and get to really know each other. And I think it's just a great portrayal of how difficult it is for men to become friends, and how difficult it is to set your ego aside to like care about someone above yourself. I really think it was a story of like becoming friends. And like for me personally, it was like it's hard to make friends with men, and the movie showed how to make friends with men.
Because we're so competitive. Yeah.
We're so competitive. And the movie's like that. You know, him and fucking Buzz are like competitive as shit. And once
they
Buzz
are,
starts
they're competing to be his best toy.
Yeah. And once Buzz starts outshining him, he's like he starts to like resent him. And I think there was a lot of like undertones there that made it not a kid's movie and made it just a good movie. So that's my number 3. Yeah. And sorry about that sound. Just gotta Sweating out here. Oh, that feels good. Okay. My number 2 is Shrek. Now I know that's weird.
Oh wow.
Shrek,
What?
like I said, I'm a love story guy. Okay,
Explain, Shrek.
and
Explain.
so there's a part in Shrek where Shrek's like ogres are like onions,
Oh
and
yeah.
it just means that they're layered. And like I'm a really layered fucking person. You know, I felt like Shrek. I had very low self-esteem as a child. I had difficult times making friends and letting people in. Even when people tried to be friendly to me, I was always like, why? Like what is
Yeah,
it?
like,
What do you want, you
you
fucking
want
piece of
something?
shit?
Yeah.
And in Shrek, Donkey just wants to be by his side and be his friend. And Donkey doesn't want to leave. And so they go on this journey to save a princess in a castle who isn't expecting him. Like, he's not Prince Charming. That's the person that's supposed to pick her up.
Yeah.
And he ends up falling in love with her. And, like, I think her being an ogre just is, like, she's layered. She has layers to her personality. And, like, the only women I've ever been attracted to are women with, like, true selves who are authentic and have layers and depth to who they are. And so for me, Shrek is just like, it was proof that I could meet someone like me one day, and I could fall in love with someone who would understand who I am in a deeper way. And also that I could meet friends who would try to understand me even when I pushed them away. And like, for me, Shrek, like again, I was just a really fucking lonely child, you know, and I was really weird, as you could probably tell. But the movie Shrek for me was just like, I'm Shrek, you know, every time I see it, I just feel like Shrek. And I feel so lucky that he gets everything, because it like lets me know that I will too. And I mean, I got it now. You know, I've got you guys, I've got a fiance, you know, but Shrek's number 2 just because it's a very beautiful story of the kind of man that isn't open to people, and like what a journey through life can give you if you open yourself to experiences.
Okay. I see that. I never see Shrek like that, but now that you mention all that, I do see it. I do see it a lot. That's cool. That's
Ogres
awesome.
are like onions, man.
Yeah.
Better out than in, I always say. It's one of my favorite ones.
Well, my favorite line in the movie is always the one where he's like, I don't have a problem with the world. The world seems to have a problem with me. Everybody look at me and think that I'm just this big, ugly ogre. They judge me before they even get to know me.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD super young. So for me, like, that hit really hard as a kid. Like, I cried.
That was my favorite part. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, what the fuck's their problem?
That's cool. That's cool.
I feel that shit.
All right, we all ready for number 1?
Yes.
All right, let me start with mine. All right. Chris, who's my favorite director?
Matt Snyder.
Martin Scorsese.
Martin Scorsese. So my number 1 is one of his movies. All right. It's not Wolf of Wall Street. It's not Goodfellas. It's not The Departed. All right. I watched this movie last year. And this movie came out in 1976. The movie, I think this is the greatest movie of all time, personally. It's Taxi. All right. Now, hear me out. Taxi Driver. I think this movie.
You're a fucking psychopath.
Listen, I think this movie is so way ahead of its time, because this movie is honestly the most relevant movie right now. This movie talks about a person. His name is Travis Birkin, played by Robert De Niro. He talks about this movie talks about a person who is just lonely, and who only thinks. I mean, who really try to find who's all he wants is to try to find a purpose in his life. Really, like, he tried to talk to girls, he can't do it. He tried to get a taxi job to try to see if it helps him sleep and all that stuff. Can't do it. And it really shows you that when you are just by yourself and you don't have a purpose, your mind kind of goes to like through bad things, and you start thinking bad things, and you start wanting to like change the world. You start really want to like really fix the world. But like the way he thinks of fixing the world is to kill people. It's to get rid of like the filth, get rid of like the corrupt people and all this stuff. And then he start buying guns and weapons, and it makes him feel more empowered. And I think it really show you like how a lot of serial killers become serial killers. Like a lot of people who are like who are mentally ill who become serial killers. This movie kind of like shows you like how their life is like, and like how like being alone and like don't have anybody, and like you don't see a purpose in your life, or like you don't find one, and then you start thinking about like, the world need to fucking change. These people need to die, and and you're so alone. It really shows you like that can drive people crazy. And this movie is like, it came out in 1976, and like I don't understand how they think of something that is so relevant today. Like everybody's so alone today that like, and I think everybody thinks like Travis Birkin right now. Like there's literally a person that tried to kill President Trump, like literally, and like it shows you that like being alone is so dangerous. And like when all you have is your thoughts, you're gonna become more like radical, and you're gonna become more like start to believe something that you come up with to give yourself purpose. And it's so crazy, like it's insane. Like when he saw the prostitute chick that tried to get in his car and asked him to drive, he made it like his life purpose. Like I need to help that chick. I need to help that girl get out of her situation. So he went and just start murdering all the people that hire her as a prostitute and all this stuff. And he all he's trying to do is find purpose in his life. And it's insane. I think the movie is incredible. I have no idea how Robert De Niro didn't win an Oscar for Best Actor as Travis Birkin. I think the movie is so relevant today. It came out in 1976, and it's the most relevant movie today for me. And I think it's a movie that everybody right now should at least watch once, in my opinion. But yeah, that's my number one.
Yeah, I mean that's a really great point. I mean, there's this thing called antisocial personality disorder, and like there's like you kind of like create this fabrication of reality that you're like you're like alone, like actually, and you want to be, and like the thing you brought up about like the purpose, like we really do live in a purposeless world. Like the thing is, it's way easier to come to that conclusion too. Like in the past, like you had absurdism, you had like religions to run to that gave you purpose, and nowadays like it's really easy to just like come to nihilism and realize like this is a purposeless world. We have no inherent meaning as humans. And, it kind of happens from being alone because you start to see people like have you guys heard of this NPC theme that's going on?
Yeah.
Where like they think that there's people who are just non-playable characters and we live in a fucking simulation and those humans aren't real humans because they don't have like substance to their thought. Like that's the kind of thinking that isolates people and creates those taxi drivers. Like I agree. I think that movie was a beautiful representation of what like a truly antisocial, isolated person is. Yeah. And you're right. There's a lot of those. Like I made it an effort growing up to like befriend those people, not because, that school shooter shit, how people say like, oh, they're school shooter, be friends with your school shooter, hey, let me know when you're coming with a gun. Like I always thought that was just, I thought that was a dark way. Like you're making someone who's lonely feel even lonelier, and you're like charging them to be radical. You're telling them that they're perceived as nothing. They already think they're perceived as nothing, and now you're giving them, like how you say you're giving them how we got a purpose. Yeah. Like you can give people purpose just by telling them how the world perceives them, and like they think that they're that. It's the same how like people will watch a TV show or a movie and they'll think that they're like a character in that TV show or movie. And, it's kind of like the NPC vibe is kind of just, you're saying it's a person without purpose. That's really what it is. And you can give a person purpose, or you can allow them to continue to be ostracized and isolated. I think some people, in India, there's a caste called the Untouchables, right? And like, you just don't fuck with them. They're like, they're worth less than dirt. And there are some people in our society that like, you can try and be kind to them, and they're just like genuinely like scary people, right? And like, how do you save that person from isolation? And I think that's like the point of Taxi Driver also is like, you can save that person from isolation by giving them a purpose that doesn't necessarily like stick them into society, And because like, what are we supposed to do with all those people that are genuinely like crazy people that need help, that you don't want to touch with a stick?
Right. And like them just like coming up with like their viewpoint on things. They start to believe what they think, because the only person the only thing they can think about is themselves. And so because of that, they're going to start to believe everything they think about. And that's kind of dangerous, like.
And another thing is like the first person to show you attention when you're like that kind of becomes like your God. Like it's you're so our friend Ted, is like low key a person who suffers from antisocial personality disorder, and it's through trauma, I believe. And Ted, if you're watching this, I just called you out. Sorry, buddy. But like, like he met someone recently, and that kind of like became his purpose, and that's kind of been his theme for a very long time. Is like he's, purposeless, and then once he's given purpose, he's very ambitious about pursuing it and dedicating his life to it. But that's kind of like a common theme in people. So whenever someone saves you from the darkness, that person becomes your light. And like it's really dangerous actually, because like you can get people killed.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Like,
that's why the movie's
prime
so
example.
relevant.
Like,
I think the movie's so relevant today, and people just need to watch this to really show like it's dangerous when you just by yourself and you start to come with like your ideas and you're radical and you really think you need to like save the world by killing these people. Like it's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be. And
my
Robert De
advice
Niro,
to anyone who's watching this like that is take in more perspective. Like the thing is, you think you're so isolated from the world that no one is talking to you or giving you perspective. Take it in and learn to socialize, learn to interact, learn to understand other people so that you can communicate better to the world. Because if you're waiting for someone to pull you out of the dark hole and you feel like you deserve this life, motherfucker, people are born in like the Congo and are enslaved. There's people in like slave trades, and like they're still trying to live every day. You can't wait for someone to save you. You need to save yourself, and that comes with learning how to socialize. It took me a really long time to learn how to socialize and like take in perspective.
Yeah, me too.
And
me too. 100%.
If we didn't do that, we'd have been the fucking taxi driver, dude.
Yes.
If we kept waiting for someone to save us.
Yeah, I see myself a lot in like in the character Travis Bergen. That's why, and like the movie really make me reflect on myself and be like, damn man, like I want to make sure I don't become like that.
Yeah. It's the time that like when it comes to being a guy, and it's true for women as well, when they kind of the symbol of when they grow up, but for a guy especially when they become a man is when you realize whether you had a difficult life or an easy life, whatever it is, you come from nothing or you've been fed everything, you realize that no one's coming. There's nobody that's going to come save you. There's no one that's going to come give you this all empowering purpose, as you guys are saying, all this, they'll come and show.
Philosophies and religion are so followed, it gives purpose.
Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna come and tell you everything. It's you realize nobody's coming. You got to do your own saving.
A big thing is men. So I am very interested in different aspects of reality, and I think a big reason that movie's so good is because it perfectly portrays one aspect of reality. Yeah. And like how Chris is saying, like if you've been spoon fed, you don't know what it's like to not have the spoon, and like there's just two different perspectives of reality that exist simultaneously. Like right now, Venezuela is like rioting. And like their president is like there's crazy shit happening in Venezuela. Like they're trying to like cheat the election. They started the polls late, and like we're sitting here, like I'm sitting in the car talking to you guys on the internet. We're in America. We're chilling. I'm about to go home and eat some food.
A great place.
But the concept is that there's multiple versions of reality that are happening simultaneously, and it all depends on perspective. And a big one, I believe in shadow realities, right? So like women. So like we're not women, so we don't understand the woman's perspective. The woman's perspective is like having men stare at you, being in constant danger of stuff like that, trying to discover purpose, and then your purpose being tied to a man due to reproduction. And like so women have their own shadow reality, and as men we do too, and it's one that's unspoken. And if you weren't raised with a father, you probably weren't told, but you have no inherent value. Like you're not worth shit. Like no one's going to want to get to know you unless you have value.
Which
you have to be worth something for someone to want to understand or get to know or be with you. And that's like a thing with men. Like if you don't, and I think that's why more men commit suicide, and I think that's why more men become like serial killers, because it's a shadow reality you're thinking everyone experiences, but it's you need to become like, you need to have some kind of worth, whether it's your ideas, whether it's your personality, whether it's your income. You need to have some value for anyone to want to get to know you.
Yeah.
Or like be worth something to be a part of society. That's kind of like
you need to go find
men
your
aren't
worth.
told.
Yeah. Or go learn your worth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have to go and do all that. Yeah. As a man. Yeah.
And if you're waiting around, dude, you're never going to fucking find it. And someone's going to give it to you, and you don't want it given to you. You want to earn it so that you can,
the only way to figure out most of the time your worth is what when other people kind of like show you too as a man. Yeah, see, so like it can't be, it unfortunately can't really be something internal. Like
Yeah.
you can have internal worth for yourself, but really people judge you from your external worth. Like
Yeah.
they judge you on like what they say about you. Like Michael Jordan isn't the greatest because he say he's the greatest. He's the greatest because people say he's the greatest. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
And I mean, think of the person who thinks they're the greatest who didn't work for it. You know,
yeah.
that's
See,
like you're teetering on the edge of the taxi driver. You know, you need to fight for your worth. And you're right. Like it comes from society. I really
society
think
has to tell you your worth. Yeah.
I really think truth is only true once it's shared. Like you can come to your own subjective truth, but unless someone agrees with you, it's not true. And I think that largely our entire society, you know, ideologies, everything comes from like a subjective truth that was shared and became objective truth. And I think like as men, we have a greater ability of creating objective truth. And it comes from like living out our subjective reality and seeing how much we can like layer that on top of like real reality. And like you said, it comes from other people acknowledging it. Like I used to think I was crazy thinking as deeply as I do, and then I got into philosophy and I realized there's like a bunch of thinkers from the Enlightenment that saw reality how I do, and it's just not something that's spoken of often because it's easier to think simply. And I think IQ plays a large role in that too, but I'm gonna like skip that topic. But anyways, that's
That'll
a
be
really
a
good
separate
rabbit hole.
podcast.
Yeah, that'd be a separate podcast. Yeah, but yeah, that's my number one. I think we talked about mine enough. What's your guys' number one?
Yeah,
Okay,
what you got,
so
Shazahh?
so have y'all ever seen the movie Into the Wild? Okay,
Where he finds
Alexander
the
I don't think
Supertramp.
I've seen that.
Okay,
What year did it come out?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Is that?
It was
Is
in
it
the
old? Is it
2000s
new?
for sure.
2000. Okay, so it's a little. New.
Oh wait, is that the guy that goes to Alaska?
Yes, it's the guy that goes to Alaska.
Ah, what a
Okay,
movie!
so I watched the movie at least 20 times and I read the book. Okay, the book is vastly different from the movie. Okay, so there's this concept called captivity suburbs, and basically it's you get a good job and you really care about people's perception of you, and you live in a suburb and your neighbor gets a new car, so now you need to get a new car, and like your whole personality is built on that like consumption status thing, right? And it
Materialistic.
happens most often in the suburbs. And this kid wakes up to that shit, and he realizes his parents are just like status obsessed, materialist people, and he doesn't want to be like them, but they keep pushing him to be like them. And he just wants to like live outside of these constructs. He wants to live outside of this social reality that's being constructed for him. He wants to see the world for what it is. He wants to live in nature. He wants to really experience life. And he's a big fan of Henry Thoreau, who spent time in a cabin and just lived in nature and professed what it was like to be disconnected from society. And so the movie really is this kid. He graduates college, and he wants to go on the adventure of his lifetime. He wants to go live in the Alaskan bush, and he wants to write a book about it. And so he spends 2 years. He throws his money away. He gets rid of his car, and he's just hitchhiking. And he meets all of these amazing people on the journey. And he's just living his life. The whole time his family doesn't know where the fuck he's at. He's going by an alias. He doesn't really have a name. And he makes it to Alaska, and he dies in Alaska, right? But the whole purpose of the movie was just he was chasing himself. Like we were just talking about subjective realities. Like for me, I hate the pressure that society puts on you to like live out like a preordained role. I fucking hate preordained roles. I think that authenticity and like your perspective matter more than what's happening in the outside world. Now, of course, there's restrictions to that. I mean, you don't want to be a psychopath killer, but in the book, it's actually like this really weird kid. I get the vibe that he's a little autistic, and he can't fit in, and in the book he leaves, and it's way more tragic than anything else. He gets beaten, he gets fucking he makes it to Alaska, and he dies fairly quickly. But it's my favorite movie. It's number one because it's my favorite, and it's just a call to adventure. And like so many times in life, we're told to do things because it leads to like a preordained outcome. And
Right.
I fucking hate that shit, dude. Like our ancestors didn't live like that. Our ancestors like chased their potential. They chased like their versions of reality. And the movie's really just about this kid living out a life that isn't connected to these social constructs, isn't connected to this modern reality. He just wants to like live, man. He just wants to fucking live. There's a scene in the show where he's getting drunk at a bar, or in the movie, he's getting drunk at a bar, And this dude's talking to him, and he's like, society, man. And it's because society imposes all of these restrictions on morality and these restrictions on ethics, but it's also like absurd and it's contradictory. And it's like, when you run into that shit, no one's talking about it. And when you bring it up, you're like isolated or ostracized. And like, it's hard to play a role in a game that people are playing that you don't want to play. Like, sometimes just you don't want to play the fucking game. You want to play your own game. You want to like see the world how you see it and like live through that and share that experience with people. And so the movie is really about that. Like, growing up, man, like in poverty, I was supposed to be a failure or a drug dealer, and like I just didn't want that. I didn't want to like go to school and be like this fucking person. You know, I wanted to chase my own dreams. And like, society isn't structured in a way that you can chase your own dreams. Like, society's structured in a way where you want to be comfortable and you want to have kids and you want to do all this shit. And I hate the fucking structure aspect of reality. And so this movie's number one because it's a real call to adventure, and it kind of like attacks those like social restrictions and those social constructs, and it brings them to light. And like, for the people who were born in like suburbia, I never took their perspective in, you know, like everyone experienced suffering. In Buddhism, like, suffering is universal and it's due to attachment. And in this movie, it just really shows that like, no matter where you're at in life, everyone is suffering in some way. And, you know, like, your suffering could be financial or it could be existential. And for me, I suffered both those. And like, watching the movie just gave me a bunch of like energy. And like, whenever I feel like I'm stuck in place and I'm in a routine, I'll watch the movie again to feel free and to remember that I have the choice to do what the fuck I want. Like, today, I could just fucking leave. I could just go to Alaska right now, leave everything behind, and just live my fucking life. And so, Into the Wild, read the book, watch the movie. Pretty good.
Into the Wild, huh? Okay. I haven't seen it, but I'm 100% going to check it out.
It's so good.
Okay. I like it. I think I definitely know the story of the movie, but I haven't seen it all the way. I think I started it and didn't finish it. I will definitely take a look at it. But for my number one, it's kind of a similar thing with what you were talking about, some of the social constructs, and it's one that I've never really seen a movie do so well as to combine so many different perspectives into one movie and perfectly kind of portray them and let the audience feel like they can clearly see the mindset and how they view the world and how the world views them simultaneously with so many different perspectives.
It's so interesting. All of our top one movies like fall on a movie that portrays a perspective of reality. I just want to say, like, I think that's really cool. I think that's we all like appreciate.
Yeah,
I think that should be the purpose of movies, honestly.
I do too. Yeah. I really do too. Yeah. I think the
and
best movies are like that.
Yeah, the best ones really convey it super well, and I think this one did just that. It starts out, you know, it's got Tobey Maguire. He starts out in a mental institution.
I think I know what movie you're talking about. That movie's insane.
And he's telling it from basically a lockup mental facility, right? He's telling it to a psychologist, and he's kind of had a mental break because of all the things he's experienced, and he's recounting this. And as this story is told, is the movie, and this movie, of course, is The Great Gatsby, right? Classic.
Oh, The Great Gatsby. Okay, I see this.
All-time seller. It was a huge book, and then it was adapted into a movie. But Tobey Maguire, Leonardo DiCaprio. It starts out, he's telling it from, you know, he's had a mental break. Leonardo DiCaprio in this movie comes from the Great Depression. His parents are beyond poverty. He's actually looking up into the stars from his bedroom because they have no roof. And he's thinking, and he turns 8 or 9, and he escapes. He leaves, and he says, you know what, I'm gonna find and do better because I know that it's possible. He comes from nothing, Great Depression era, right? I think his family said he survived on something like 70 or 80 cents a day for a family of 6 or something. So he comes, and it basically shows him showing and wanting everything, right? A very, very similar to what he was saying in that movie. A lot of what you see in that movie can be carried over to today, and that it's a very status symbol. It's a very materialistic, obsessed world where, I come from nothing, or I'm poor. Now I want all these things that I can get with money. I want fancy cars. I want jewelry. I want houses. I want, the status that comes with it. And I want everybody to see me with this status, right?
Yeah.
But what's amazing...
More than actually having it, you want people to see it more.
Exactly, and that's really what is interesting, is because that's part of the lesson that he learns, and that he goes through all that. He ends up getting lucky and saving this captain, and then gets this Oxford basically training. He doesn't actually go to Oxford, but he's able to create this identity because he was taught all of these little tiny social nuances that are really all it takes to be able to pull that off, because there's very rare authenticity at that level of the wealth in the top 1%. He just learns just enough to help this guy, saving him from a shipwreck, to pretty much present himself as one, an Oxford graduate, family come from money, he's a dynasty, all those things. But what's very interesting in this movie, both kind of dually contrasted between Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio, is that he shows that he's attained all this stuff. He becomes a bootlegger, and he becomes one of the most successful bootleggers in all of New York City. So much so he has to give small examples, he's got a card that he basically just shows it to the police, and it doesn't matter what he's doing, he's going to be fine. And the mysteriousness of this, and how a lot of people in this world have the psyche of, they want to connect, they want everybody to come together over me, basically, as the Beatles would say. But that's what they want. They want the humanity piece of them is to connect and have everybody kind of come together, and really resonate, and get an understanding between the two. Let them know me. Let all of us, come together. Let me know them. I want everybody to come. But what he does, and the most interesting part about it, is he doesn't actually want to be there. He just wants to be the one organizing it. So everybody, although it's affluent, from people at the university to congressmen to police chiefs to politicians, everybody comes. Everybody wants to go to this party. Nobody knows or even has an idea of what he looks like or his story. They just know all of these arousing and insane tales of successfulness that he's supposedly done, right? But what's really interesting is, by the end of the movie, and by the end of not really his life, but the story as a whole, is that he realizes that he's got all these things, but he really doesn't need them or want them. That's not truly what would have made him happy. What really would have made him happy is having a family and having the woman he loves, and having that be his meaning, was what would have given him all he ever needed. It wasn't, achieving riches or status or fame or being able to tell the police to screw off. It wasn't that. It was really just having somebody he loved. And it shows that even though he is feasibly the most successful businessman and most successful person in the whole, all of New York City, and the whole person of the whole town, he's got the police chief, he's partying with him. He's got the congressman over here. And he's still not able to attain it. And he ends up failing. Without giving too much of a spoiler away, he's not able to get it with all the money in the world. And I think that really shows that the world can create this image of, you do this, the grass is always greener kind of concept, where you do this or you get this, you'll be happier. Or if you want to fit in, or if you want to be successful, or if you want to have the best life, you do this or get this or buy that or live here. And really, that's not the truth of it at all. That's just what's, sold and kind of mass produced for the masses, but it's not where reality is based. And that shows it. He sees that I really didn't need all of these things. And Tobey Maguire sees it, and it has such a jaw-dropping effect, and such a mental seeing that firsthand has such a mental break in his psyche, that he's telling the story from a mental asylum, because it's so insane to see that the truth of it is, with all the power in the entire state and the entire New York City coming together over him and doing whatever, coming to the party, celebrating the party, but knowing nothing about him, it's enough to have everybody come. And really, it's an insane story. I think anyone that wants to know anything about how society works, or just learn about different perspectives, or learn about really what makes us human, and what our true ancestral kind of in our DNA values are, of what really, we're meant to do, and what makes us happy, and kind of parse that away from all the societal norms that they would have you believe, it can really be eye-opening. It's and visually stunning, of course. It's one of the most insanely shot movies I've ever seen. From how it shows the time of, you see this crazy Great Depression, and they have one of the big pieces of the movie is basically this huge banner billboard of this eye doctor, who isn't even around anymore, but it's just his eye. And it's just this small little glimpse of color, and everything else is just covered in blackness and coal, because all the people are labor workers, impoverished, and it's the Great Depression. And it's looking down over them as if it was God, and they call it the eye of the God in the story, because it's like everybody is seeing what's happening, but they're all just having to capitulate to it. And this guy is able to experience all of these different perspectives, whether it's from the top of the Sears Tower or the slums of the slums. You understand really what anybody really needs to be happy, and what anybody really needs to get along. And it's none of what's being sold in either one. And that's, I think, an amazing story to show that duality and bring it all together. And as visually stunning as it is, like I said, I'm a bit of a sucker for really good quality cinematography, and it does it amazingly.
Me too.
Anybody that wants to have an idea of that has to watch it. It's amazing. I haven't actually read the book, so I don't
The
know
book
if
is
it's.
like one of the greatest book of all time. Just so
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
it is one of the greatest, and yeah, just
like I
amazing.
haven't read it, and I know about the book. Like that just
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So just amazing.
I gotta watch it. I didn't know that was the movie you were talking about. I thought it was the one where he was
Great
a
cast,
Iraq
great.
soldier and came back.
No,
That's
it
crazy
is.
though.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that shit. That's
That's
insane.
cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Super
That's
good, bro.
these are such amazing like movies you guys all listed, and like you guys seem like you guys really understand and like really. This is why I like movies. Movies, especially the good ones. You know, like they really can teach you a lot about things, about people, about society, about life,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that is the purpose of movies, and that's kind of why I kind of want to get into it as well. So yeah, but
Yeah.
this is
Well,
this is a
all right,
great
guys.
list.
Yeah, it's been a great
It's a great list.
podcast. We
Definitely been a great
I think
podcast.
I don't know. Do we have an idea slated for next week, or is that to be announced and
I think
actually
it should
shown
be
on Saturday?
announced. But
Okay, that will be
Lee, I
announced.
actually came up with an idea for a movie last night, and it was like it. Okay, so the premise is the perceptions of reality, right? And it's going to
Of
start with
course.
two people talking in a room, working their job, and then it's going to zoom out to people watching them on TV. And then it's going to zoom out to the people producing the show. Then it's going to zoom out to the people who talk them into doing the show. And then it's going to zoom out from that. So it's basically just like unlayering reality all the way to the top is the concept of the movie. Wouldn't it be fucking crazy?
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there was a movie that is kind of like that, but
I think Inception's the closest thing I could think of that was like that.
Inception, yeah. Inception was more. So Inception was more on like how to make a movie. Actually, if you really if you go and watch the interviews and all that stuff from Christopher Nolan, he says the whole movie was just about how these people were like figuring out how to make a movie. Like he used the format of like when you make a movie and how all these people they go in and they talk about like the layers and like who does this, who does that kind of thing, like the fall. Like it's the same scenario when they're making a movie, and that's why it was so cool and so well shot it and everything. So very interesting.
Yeah.
All right,
guys.
This is
we
it.
will.
Yeah.
This podcast was a day late. That's yours truly's fault, but we will be on next Saturday, and we will announce probably halfway through the week. What the next episode will be, and we'll be streaming live at 7:30 on YouTube and Twitch.
7:30 Eastern time. 7:30
Eastern
time.
That's right. And we will catch you guys on the next latest and greatest episode of the Great Debaters.
All righty. Catch you guys. See you guys later. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Love you guys. That was fun. That was a good podcast.
Yeah.
See ya.